Hello, and welcome back to your marketing podcast. I'm your host, Sarah Hansen, the founder and marketing expert at Your Marketing Team, which is a funnel marketing agency that helps online coaches and consultants build revenue generating marketing funnels and strategies. Today, we are going to talk about what to do if the last launch or the last campaign you did not go as planned. And trust me, this happens to everyone. You most likely are not going to hit your first launch of something out of the park because there's just so much testing, tracking, analytics reviews, etc., that needs to be done to really nail a campaign or a launch. But of course, you can do a few things to help make your launch better each time, right? So the first point I want to talk about today is what you need to do is analyze what worked and what didn't work in your last launch. This is where your metrics are really important. So before you even start a campaign, make sure everything is connected correctly to whatever your metric tool is, whether it's Metricool for scheduling, Google Analytics, etc. Make sure everything is set up correctly so that while your content is running, you have somewhere to refer back to see how the content did. But when you're doing this, you want to look at open rates, click-through rates, sales conversions, engagement data. Really think like what stood out as successful here. You also want to gather feedback. So ask any audience members, any current clients, anyone you've worked with that you feel comfortable asking what they loved about the campaign, what confused them, what they would have wished for during the launch. Maybe they would have liked a longer doors open phase. Maybe they would have bought from you if the discount code was larger, whatever it may be. Ask for that feedback because that is the best way to get direction on what you need to be doing in your launches. And then you also want to identify any bottlenecks in your launch. So pinpoint where leads dropped off in your funnel and strategize ways to keep them engaged. You don't need to throw away your whole funnel because there are likely a lot of pieces in the funnel that worked for you. But what you can do is see where people fell off and then how you can improve those things to help move them along through your funnel. So that's point one. Point two is going to be engage your audience early with teasers, behind the scenes content, etc. So the key to any successful launch is going to be to build anticipation, share sneak peeks, do countdowns, do exclusive previews of any content you're creating, really generate buzz before the launch happens. You also want to create a lot of visibility and connection before your launch happens. So you do this by posting stories, doing live sessions, updating your blog with new content, really like show the human side of your brand and show the personal side of your brand so you can make your audience feel more involved with you and your brand. And this also goes along with the third point here, which is warm up your leads. Use email, social media to nurture your audience with value-driven content, educational content, useful content to prepare them to take action when you launch. So I always tell people you need at least 6 weeks of just pure engagement and nurture content before you even think about doing any sort of campaign. And that's if you have an audience that's already pretty warm and active. You cannot launch to a cold audience. So please, please, please factor in a warm-up phase before any launch. And the third tip here is going to be to set realistic goals and KPIs so that you can measure your success. So this goes back to the very beginning when I said, make sure that all of your accounts, all of the marketing tools you're using and platforms are set up to your analytics tool before you start. So that after your launch, you can go back, see what worked, what didn't work, and decide if it was successful. So you can define key objectives, decide if your goal is, to get more leads next time, to get higher conversions, to get more brand visibility, revenue, etc. Like set aside what KPIs are most important to you and make measurable benchmarks. So establish what the specific KPIs are going to be. So that could be like a 10% increase in email signups or 5 sales in the first 24 hours. Be really specific about what your goals are, and then you can reverse engineer that when you run your launch again to make sure the content aligns with those goals. And you'll also then want to monitor your progress throughout the campaign. If you see something early on is not working, it's okay to make a change during that launch. It doesn't, you don't have to wait till the end if you already know early on that something's not working. So keep that in mind. So just as a review for today's hot tips, when your launch doesn't go as planned, what you need to do for the next launch is analyze what worked and what didn't work. Engage your audience early on with teasers and nurture content, and set realistic goals and KPIs to measure your success the next time. I hope you found these tips helpful today for planning your next launch. I would really appreciate if you did to leave a 5-star review on your podcast platform, or if you're on YouTube, click like and subscribe and leave a comment. I would love to answer your comments or questions there. Also, if you are needing more help with your messaging in your campaigns, if you feel like that's what's holding your launch back, go ahead and head to the description in the podcast notes or the YouTube description. I have a link to my free demystified messaging guide there. And lastly, I also have a link in my podcast description and YouTube description to my Instagram and TikTok accounts, which is at your marketing team, but marketing is shortened to MKTG. So it's at your MKTG team. But of course, you can find the links below. And otherwise, I will see you on the next show.